Good afternoon, everyone. This is Mike O'Malley here with the Hurricane Outlook and discussion for October 30th, 2020, recorded around 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. While taking a wide look across the tropical Atlantic this afternoon, we have Invest Area 96L, which is located well to the west now of Barbados and is moving generally westward over the next couple of days and in the general vicinity of South Central America. And this now has an 80% chance of developing as it generally nears portions of the Central Caribbean down here. And this will be something that we're going to have to watch very carefully over the next couple of days for significant impacts to portions of the Central America coastline. And also, there's a little bit of a wrinkle in the forecast, which we'll talk about here in a moment. Elsewhere, lower 48 weather, very nice across most of the Midwestern United States right now. Nice across Florida today with a cold front that has moved through. Temperatures right now in the lower 80s. Visible satellite loop here of Invest 96L. Again, it's still disorganized. You can very clearly tell we have no clear circulation at the low levels. We don't have wind that is flowing in at the low levels here coming out of the south, and we don't have winds really. I mean, we do have winds out here that are coming across to the north there, but we don't have this cyclonic turning down in here. We don't have that yet. You can very clearly see these wind, or basically these clouds are all flowing in almost one direction out of the southwesterly direction, then up here changing to basically coming out of the east and blowing towards the west. So these trade winds are kind of predominantly steering the storm right now. And again, this will be kind of the main factor for the next couple of days until this can get better organized. But again, you don't have any well-defined low-level center, but you do have some mid-level axis of vorticity in through here. And we can see this better showing up on the 850 millibar relative vorticity product. This is the spin in the atmosphere at about 5,000 feet off the ground. And for context here, these reds and whites, this is your higher cyclonic spin at the 5,000 foot level in the atmosphere. And we can see that very clearly. We have a lot of energy out here across portions of the northwestern Atlantic that came off the northeast United States, and some of this, actually, I believe this part right here is the remnant vorticity associated with Hurricane Zeta that, of course, came down across this region and then out across like this. And we were able to capture a coastal flooding event up across the northeast United States yesterday, late last night into early this morning from one of our hurricane cameras. We will have that footage that will be coming eventually. We're going to have to work out some kinks, though, with the camera system. But generally, that was kind of the story here. And again, you can very clearly see that today we have a well-defined mid-level vorticity spin here showing up. And again, this is sitting right now just to the north, really, of the South America area. And this is going to be very important because as this continues heading generally towards the west and northwest, it will eventually end up somewhere here in the Central Caribbean. Now, exactly where is going to determine a lot in terms of its future track, which I'll talk about in a second. Now, you can see here from the official Hurricane Center webpage here, an 80% chance of development over the next couple of days. And again, this is heading generally westward and will impact portions of Central and South Central America through the next couple of days. Again, this general area here is going to be at greatest risk, and we will actually take a closer dive at some of the terrain features in the way in tomorrow's update. But you can very clearly see that this is going to be the predominant area of focus over the next couple of days or so. Now, one of the reasons why this isn't going to be heading just due north here, or basically due northwest, is a couple of factors here. This is a graphic I made yesterday evening, and we can very clearly see that right now we're going to have, by early next week, Monday into Tuesday on election day, we're going to have this big bowling ball trough that's digging in out here across the Midwest United States and moving towards the east and northeast here. So this is moving towards the east northeast, but at the same time behind it, we have a ridge over Texas and Mexico that is also sliding eastward with time. We saw a similar setup here for Hurricane Zeta only a couple of days ago, where a ridge moved eastward. We had that steering pattern out of the northwesterly direction, etc. Well, what's going to end up happening, this ridge is going to expand over this area, and because the storm is sitting southward, that flow is moving the storm generally towards the west and southwest. So there's only a couple of really keen ideas, or really a couple of things that could really happen here. One of those being that the storm is going to eventually just be weak and end up down here across portions of Guatemala. But there's also, which is in the black line here, a greater factor that this becomes a little bit stronger, probably develops into a storm or a minimal hurricane, and makes its way closer, further northward, but it still eventually dives west southwest and then into the coastline. Or the least likely outcome right now is that it becomes strong, remains strong, and it gets tugged northward by beta drift, and it's just in a stronger mid-level flow out of the northwesterly direction. So these are all very real possibilities that we are going to be kind of experiencing, and that's going to be the very crucial thing going forward with time. Now we can see this happen on the GFS forecast. This is the 500 millibar flow in the atmosphere. And again, what we're really looking at right now is our main steering flow. We have a big ridge over the North Atlantic right now, or really over the Eastern Atlantic. And then we have a ridge building over Texas and Mexico, which is going to be happening to move eastward with time. Now we can see this front down here. This was the frontal position here passing over Central Florida. Now, we move this forward. This is about 48 hours from now. We have our system trying to consolidate better here. And again, how close, really, how fast this actually develops is going to be very crucial, because how fast it develops dictates how close it gets to Central America here. So by 48 hours from now, this is trying to spin up down here, but we also have a very strong trough that's digging in. The trough kind of influence out here across Indiana and the Ohio Valley region. Now, as this happens, though, our storm by hour 84, you notice what's happening. Big trough digging in across the southeast and northeast United States, and then this big ridge building out across Texas, Mexico, and portions of the Gulf of Mexico. This is trying to push our storm now towards the west-southwest. So while a steering flow out of the northwest would be influenced in mid-levels, the low levels is inducing a steering flow out of the southwest. And this is very important, because if the storm is weak here, like the GFS forecast has it, then it is possible that this kind of just meanders around. And again, the GFS eventually tries to spin up something down here that is much stronger. It's a very weird kind of situation. This is, it almost strengthens, weakens, and then re-strengthens as this is kind of just meandering, and it eventually, the ridge that is now building in here, you can see the influence of this ridge is basically passing right over here, and the storm is now moving towards the west and southwesterly direction. So this is very important, because if the storm is to be stronger, then yes, there is a theoretical possibility it's going to come a little bit more towards the northwest here, and that's very important. Now, models here like the HWRF, or excuse me, not the HWRF, but the Euro, this is the ECMWF 12Z model here, tries to close off a circulation by 24 hours from now. And this is very important, because the overall evolution, then it would keep it a little bit further northward, and we can kind of see that it's certainly further towards the north. And then today's run of the Euro is much stronger with the overall vorticity signature here. So this is a much stronger circulation within 72 hours from now. However, we can see what's happening. A very big ridge is building up across basically all of the Midwest United States right now. And this ridge is, influencing a southwesterly steering flow. We can see this is general anticyclonic flow, but you get a southwesterly steering component on the southern side of this. So our storm has no other option but to turn southwest and then dive into South Central America, and that's what happens. Now, today's run has been, again, a little bit further northward. If we look at the past couple of runs from the past 3 days, including today, we can see that we've had a general influence towards the north today. And that's partially because we're thinking that this is going to spin up rather quickly. And then once it does so, it's going to try to build a healthy inner core structure. Now, the model per se, like the H Wharf is one, and the H Mon, both of them spin up this into a pretty formidable hurricane as it approaches the coastline here. So, this is going to be very important as it generally heads towards the west northwest and then eventually bends back towards perhaps the southwesterly direction. So, if anything, today we have started to come into a little bit better agreement that the storm is not going to continue heading towards the northwest, but instead it is going to make that dive towards the southwest. But how far southwest this gets in the short term is going to remain the biggest question mark. So, there's not a lot of things that we still know. We still have more questions than we do answers at this point. But the one thing that we will have to look for, this is the upper ocean heat content map, and this area has been very it's not been depleted by tropical cyclones this year, even though we had obviously delta in that region, up here across the North Atlantic or the North Caribbean. But generally down in this area right now where this would be heading into, it's a very favorable environment for additional organization, and then once we have a storm, intensification. So by all means, it looks like we will have a storm that does develop somewhere, but where exactly does it develop remains the biggest question. Right now, anywhere in South Central America, you need to be on alert because, again, this could be a hurricane on approach, but how strong, where it's going to be within, the next 3 to 5 days remains the biggest question. So a lot of uncertainties still, more questions than we have answers at the moment, but slowly but surely we're getting those answers, and we're answering our questions. All right. So, with that being said, hope you all have a great rest of your afternoon, evening. Of course, I am Michael Romali. I'll talk to you guys again some more tomorrow.